Hi guys, VR Game Girl here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Fallout 76 in a clown hat.
When it was released back in November, from what I understand, it had some challenges. It was buggy and it got some pretty poor reviews. But it's been a couple months now, and Bethesda's had some time to make some updates on it, so I decided to give it a try. I've not played any of the previous Fallout games, and I'm not familiar with the history or canon of the series, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. I think this gave me the opportunity to play with a little more of an open and unbiased opinion. I may be in the minority when I say this, but I'm actually really enjoying playing this game. I really like the retro vibe of this game. I love how everything is a mess now because of the apocalypse, but you can see where somewhere in the past it was all really high-tech and shiny and futuristic. There's a lot of little details all over the game that add to this style. Things like the posters hanging on the walls, or the office furniture, the refrigerators and other appliances, and the cars on the side of the road all give it a really cool 1950s feel. It's not a theme you see in a lot of games, so it's kind of a fun alternative to most of the futuristic or fantasy games out there. So that same retro vibe that the game gives off also makes it kind of a little sad and lonely, because you can see what this world used to be and where it is now after the apocalypse. And it's also pretty creepy. So right off the rip, you're the last one out of the vault. You're all by yourself, which is kind of strange because you would think that everyone in the vault would want to work together to rebuild, but apparently not. As you explore Appalachia, there's some really beautiful areas like the forests, but mostly you see devastation that was done by the war, and everything is crumbling. Buildings are falling apart. The stuff inside is just all gross and moldy. You can practically smell the mildew. I get feelings of anxiety every time I enter one of the buildings. I know there's nothing that can really hurt me, but it puts me on edge just the same. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up a little. It's dark inside the buildings, and the creepy glow from the Pip-Boy flashlight kind of makes it a little worse. There's almost always creatures in all of the halls of the abandoned buildings, and you can hear them kind of whispering and shuffling around in the distance, so you know they're there. And you're expecting them around every corner, but you don't actually know when they're going to show up, which makes for a pretty good jump scare once in a while. I don't know about anybody else who plays this game, but I am kind of a quest junkie. I don't care how small the quest is, I just love the sense of completion. Fallout 76 has no shortage of quests. The mechanics to questing in this game are similar to any other RPG style game. You initiate the quest, you do the thing, and you get the reward. Once you begin a quest, it's marked on your map, making it a lot easier to navigate them. They're also listed in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, helping you to track the ones that you're working on. Some of them are easy to power through, others are a little more complex and take a little more time. Most of the quests have a decent payout at the end. So far, my favorite item has actually been the Somerset Special, which I received for completing Final Departure at the Morgantown Airport. It's not the most powerful weapon in the game, but I really like that it's scoped, and it makes it a good option for somebody who's soloing and wants to take out some creatures from a distance. The quests are also a really great way to explore the map, since a lot of them take you all over the place. I think this game is pretty solo friendly. And in this type of open world game, I do like to play on my own so I can go at my own pace. There's a lot of opportunity for gaining XP, even if you are going solo. Quests, killing creatures, events, crafting, discovering new areas, these are all things that are going to help you level up fairly quickly. It is a big enough map that you can spend a lot of time just exploring and discovering new areas, which I personally really enjoy. I can spend hours just wandering around Appalachia. If you're the kind of person that does like to team up, again, it's an open world, so you can find other players to create a team with. For some of the events, I could see where it would be beneficial to have a group, but I'm stubborn and I just like to go at it alone most of the time. There's really no penalty for being killed if you do, except for that you lose the junk you've collected. You get to keep all the important bits like weapons, ammo, food, And you can always go back to collect the junk, which is held in the place you were killed in a neat little paper bag. There's a pretty solid variety of both hand-to-hand and ranged weapons in this game. You can use anything from a machete to a golf club for hand-to-hand, and for ranged weapons, they're all over the board, from standard factory pistols to the most bizarre handmade creations. You do need to maintain your weapons by repairing them at a workbench occasionally, so paying attention to their condition is really important. You can also modify weapons at workbenches by finding instructions or scrapping duplicates that you find. I really like this aspect of the game. I play on Xbox, so the D-pad on the controller allows for a quick switch between weapons, which is really nice. I always keep a ranged weapon and something for hand-to-hand equipped, so I can avoid using the ranged weapon unnecessarily, since ammo is kind of in short supply unless you have the materials and the workbench to craft it. My favorite weapons are the Western Revolver and the Somerset Special, which I mentioned earlier, both of which are .44 caliber. For whatever reason, I seem to hit the mark more often than not with these two, but there's a ton of other fun weapons out there too. I like Fallout 76's camp system. I think it's a pretty cool idea. CAMP stands for Construction and Mobile Assembly Platform. It's basically a portable building platform. You can customize and fortify your camp with all kinds of necessities like crafting benches, a cook station, a water pump, a generator. You can set up a bed to rest in so that you don't have to use all your stim packs up or sleep in some kind of dirty bed on the floor, and you'll also receive the well-rested bonus. You can also set up defenses such as turret guns and barricades to protect your camp. Once you get it set up the way you like it, you can blueprint it, and that way if you decide to move locations, you don't have to rebuild everything. As you collect junk along the way, you can also use that material to add on to your camp and build more equipment. I suggest setting the camp up somewhere in the middle of the map. It makes travel a little bit quicker since you can fast travel back to your camp and then you can move on to the next area. I haven't done much with my camp yet, but I have set it up in an area that was close to a vendor, so that way I have access to sell, scrap, and stash things quickly when I'm there. One caveat to the camp is that you cannot fast travel if you're encumbered. You come in contact with a good variety of creatures in this game. I thought they were all fairly balanced. They seem to spawn at a comparable level to you. However, if you're looking to clear an area, be sure to check your map and make sure that no one of a higher level than you is hanging around, because there's a good chance that creatures may have spawned at their level, and if that's the case, the odds are you won't last long. Again, I spent most of my time soloing and didn't have too much trouble battling the monsters on my own. As long as you have the right weapons and you use your ammo in a smart way, it's not too much of a problem. There are some pretty creepy guys out there. For some reason, the Grafton monster and the Snallygaster creeped me out pretty good. And I haven't run into the Wendigo or the Mothman yet, but I'm sure I will at some point, and I'm not trying too hard to bump into them because I saw pictures of the Wendigo and it creeps the heck out of me. As I mentioned earlier, there's nothing like walking through a corridor with your creepy Pip-Boy flashlight and coming face to face with a ghoul. It makes me jump every time. Something that Bethesda received a lot of flack for is the lack of NPCs in the world. Instead, you find yourself interacting with robots. They're used as vendors and involved in a lot of the questing. I feel like this lends to the atmosphere of the game. It is an apocalypse after all, and if you weren't in a bunker, the odds are probably not in your favor, so the chance of running into a human along the way is slim to none. If you're craving that human contact, since it is an open online world, there's a good chance you'll run into other players along the way. So, to recap, I really enjoyed playing Fallout 76. Not having the bias of playing previous Fallout versions may have helped with this, but I enjoyed soloing the world and I didn't have too much difficulty doing so. There's plenty of variety in the game between exploring and questing and crafting and fighting creatures. I know that Fallout 76 had a rocky start with the bugs and some of Bethesda's offerings going south, but I think the game has pulled through and maybe people should give it a second chance.